to my cave. Today I will tell you the story about Cain and Abel. To understand this story, you must know what God is telling us in this part of the Bible. As I have mentioned before, through the Bible, God is teaching us about ourselves, how we are created and how we function. This part of the Bible tells us about our first months after we are born. To understand what the Bible tells us, we must know how to read it. I have told you before in my previous stories, but I will explain it again. The Bible is written in a special language called roots and branches. This language is using symbolism in order to describe our spiritual world. We must understand that when the Bible tells us about someone, it doesn't mean the people. The human characters in the Bible symbolize the human mind. The female characters symbolize the part of the mind that creates the wishes, and the male characters symbolize the part that fulfills these wishes. Let me explain. When you want to drink coffee, it means that the female part of your mind created this wish. When you pour coffee into the coffee cup and start drinking it, this means that the male part of your mind fulfilled this wish. So we must understand that Cain and Abel symbolize the male part of our mind. Now let's get started with the story. The Bible says, Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, "With the help of the Lord I have brought forth a man." Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. Adam and Eve are the first male and female parts of the mind. Eve creates the wishes and Adam fulfills them. At this age our mind barely has any wishes. In the process of creating and fulfilling the wishes, the new ways of fulfillment of wishes are found. This means that the children are born in the mind. In this verse, the birth of Cain and Abel from Adam and Eve means that two new ways of fulfillment of the wishes are found by the mind. Cain is first and Abel is second. Why this is important I will explain later. Let's continue. The Bible says, "Now Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil." In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. But on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Flocks here symbolize the desires of the mind, and the soil symbolizes the needs of the body. This means that Abel is fulfilling the desires of mind, and Cain is fulfilling the needs of the body. Cain being born first means that the mind starts to fulfill the body's needs first, and the mind's desires second. The offerings brought to the Lord by Cain and Abel means that the results of the mind's work are presented to the consciousness. The Lord looked with favor on Abel, and his offering means that the consciousness receives more pleasure from the fulfilled desires of mind than from the fulfilled needs of the body. Because of this, Cain thinks that his role as the part of the mind is unnoticed. We have to understand that the mind and the consciousness are two separate entities. The mind thinks, and it is in charge of the physical condition of the body. The consciousness, from the other hand, feels, and it is in charge of our mood, or how we feel. I have explained it in more detail in my story about the heavenly battle of good and evil. Now let's continue with our story. The Bible says, "Then the Lord said to Cain, 'Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. This verse explains that the consciousness gets the feeling that the part of the mind that fulfills the Buddhist needs is going to try to increase its importance and do something wrong. So the consciousness creates the feeling of cautiousness and sends it to the mind. Then the Bible says, "Now Cain said to his brother Abel, 'Let's go out to the field.' While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him." The field symbolizes the process of thinking. This verse tells us that some kind of debate took place in the mind, and the part of the mind that fulfills the Buddhist needs took over the part that fulfills the mind's desires and destroyed it or turned it off. This means that the mind made a decision that the needs of the body are more important than the mind's desires. Don't forget that Cain was born first. This means that the mind started to react to the needs of the body first, so it gave the priority to the fulfillment of those needs. Let's continue. The Bible says, "Then the Lord said to Cain, 'Where is your brother Abel?' 'I don't know,' he replied. 'Am I my brother's keeper?' This means that the consciousness realized that it doesn't receive the pleasure from the fulfillment of mind's desires. The mind, from the other hand, tries to avoid the responsibility for it. This shows that even at this age our mind is already disobeying the consciousness and listening to ego. The ego is already created at this time. This process is described in the story of Garden of Eden. The serpent's curse symbolizes turning the emotion of being unsatisfied into the ego. Let's get back to our story. The Bible says, "The Lord said, 'What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." The ground in this verse symbolizes the body. The beginning of this verse symbolizes the need of the body to have the mind's desires fulfilled. The body is lacking the pleasant emotions, and it is demanding them from the consciousness. The curse of Cain symbolizes the fact that the needs of the body will never be fully satisfied. The body will endlessly produce new needs, and the mind will never be able to rest from fulfilling these needs. Let's continue. The Bible says, "Cain said to the Lord, 'My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me.' But the Lord said to him, 'Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over.' Then the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden." This verse symbolizes that the part of the mind that fulfills the Buddhist needs doesn't consult with the consciousness anymore. This means that it turns into the instincts. It loses the importance in the mind's decisions. The sentence saying, "Whoever finds me will kill me," symbolizes the possibility of ignoring and turning off the instincts by the mind. But the consciousness acknowledges the importance of the instincts and puts the restrictions for the mind not to oppose or turn the instincts off. Opposing the instincts will cause big pain. I will give you an example. Let's say you want to sneeze. The instincts make you sneeze, but if you try to hold back and not sneeze, it will cause you quite big pain. We also have to understand that the Bible is written in Hebrew. The names in Hebrew have meanings. Nod in Hebrew means to wander, so living in the land of Nod means that the instincts are not located only in the brain. They are spread out throughout whole body. For example, the instinct causing the heartbeat is located in the heart, not in the brain. Let's continue. The Bible says, Cain made love to his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was then building a city, and he named it after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael was the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah was the father of Lamech. Enoch in Hebrew means dedicated, trained, disciplined. When the baby is born, he can't control his nature's calls. I mean pooping, peeing, releasing the gases, and etc. Cain building the city and naming it Enoch symbolizes the fact that the instincts in our body start to control and discipline its nature's calls. The rest of this verse just gives the order of the following male parts of the mind that are deriving from the instincts. Irad in Hebrew means runner, fugitive. This symbolizes the creation of instinctive fear. We instinctively try to escape and hide when we fear something or someone. Mehujael in Hebrew means manifestation of strength, physical demonstration of power. This symbolizes the creation of instinct of using the physical strength for demolition of obstacles. For example, if the door is stuck and doesn't open, we instinctively try to push it to open. Methuselah in Hebrew means man of weapon. This symbolizes the creation of the instinct of using some tools or weapons for achieving the goal. For example, if we can't reach an apple on the tree, we instinctively try to use a ladder or any other tool to reach it. The following verses gives us little more information about Lamech, so I will define it later. The Bible says, Lamech married two women, one named Ada and the other Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who live in tents and raise livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all who play stringed instruments and pipes. Zillah also had a son, Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. This verse gives us the information about the wishes that Lamech is fulfilling and what instincts have derived from them. The wives of Lamech symbolize the instincts that create the wishes. Ada in Hebrew means ornament, adornment. This symbolizes the creation of the instinct of wishing for something beautiful or adorable. When we buy or create something, we instinctively wish it to be beautiful and adorable. Zillah in Hebrew means shade, protection. This symbolizes the creation of the instinct of wishing for shading and protecting ourselves. We instinctively have the wish to use the clothes to shade ourselves from the view of the others and to use some kind of protective gear to protect ourselves. The sons of Lamech's wives symbolize the instincts of creation. Which instinct creates what you can understand from the text, so I won't be defining it in the details. Naamah in Hebrew means sweetness, grace. This symbolizes the creation of the instinct of wishing for sweetness and grace. This is the instinctive wish to be loved and admired. Let's continue. The Bible says, Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, listen to me, wives of Lamech. Hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me. a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. This verse symbolizes the fact that Lamech destroyed another new instinct because it was stopping him from fulfilling the wishes of his wives. The Bible doesn't tell us which young instinct Lamech destroyed, but it tells us that Lamech is more hidden from the consciousness than Cain. So which instinct is Lamech? It is the talent. Talent is the instinct that our consciousness doesn't know where it is or how it functions. Let's continue. The Bible says, Adam made love to his wife again, and she gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, God has granted me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Seth also had a son, and he named him Enosh. This verse symbolizes that to replace Abel, the mind created a new male part of the mind that starts fulfilling the desires of the mind. Now let's get to the final part of this story. The Bible says, at that time people began to call on the name of the Lord. This verse symbolizes the fact that the mind started to realize that besides the primitive needs and pleasures of the physical body also exist the spiritual needs and pleasures. In simple words, for the mind, it's not enough just to stay alive. Now it's also important how it leads the life. I hope you liked my story. You are always welcome to visit my cave where I will tell you another interesting story. So sign up for my channel and watch my videos.